Hello, everyone. How are you doing today or tonight or whenever you're listening to this or watching this? This is Rodger, of course, Grubus Games Unlimited, creator of Dungeon Crusade, and welcome to the next video in the series, and this is number 7. So, as always, welcome. I love our time together where we can chat about the game and I can show you more of it, and this is a very good episode, if you will. So I want to say thank you for all the nice comments and the likes and that. I really enjoy talking to you and showing you the rulebook here and teaching you more about the game. And I have some very good news for you on that note. So I'm very glad you're here. The first thing is that the rulebook is nearing completion. The other day, yesterday, I finished up the combat section. And the combat section was probably one of the biggest ones to finish up, besides the one that breaks down all of the 5 phases of the game. So that is done, and it came out really stellar. I'm very happy how all this came out. So that got done. So what's going on now is there's only a handful of sections left for the rulebook, and the next series, like another 4, 5, 6 days from now, you can expect to see the treasure chest deck section, the encounter deck, which I loved creating the encounter deck. So we're going to be looking at that. What else? Encounter deck, treasure chest deck, blessings. We're going to look at that, traps. So there's a lot of cool stuff in store to see. And as I said, I think by next weekend, this whole rulebook is going to be finished because there's not much left to do, and they're very small, easy sections. So that's what I wanted to tell you. And lastly, before we get into today's episode, that I have totally cleared my schedule for June, July, August. There's nothing that, Dungeon Crusade is number one. And, of course, you guys are my family, of course. But from morning till night for June, this last week, that's all I've been doing is working on this until I have to go to sleep. So this is getting done, and then when the rule book is done, it's the manufacturing aspect. We're going to be preparing everything, getting it to them, and printing it and shipping it out. Okay, so I wanted to say all that. So very, very good news. I'm very high-spirited. So let's start with this page. What we looked at page 40 last time, right? And we ended with talking about incantations and if a hex is placed over the village because of an incantation. So we're going to go right into this section here. Oh, and I want to say too, this is 7. I might chat about some of this, so we may just go right into 8, with this next 9 or 10 pages we're going to be discussing. So don't be surprised if we get another video out of this. So the next page here, this finishes up. You know what this was? Okay, we're talking about champions. This finishes up the champions in the game. And just real quick, we'll just touch on this. That a lot of the quest items your heroes are going to need are within the chambers of the dungeon, about 90% of the time. But I did create some very unique quests where they could be elsewhere. So I'll just leave it at that. But one of the last features, early last year, that I put into the game was dual monster chambers. And what it is this. When your heroes enter into a chamber, they're most likely going in there to, try to, retrieve a quest item or going into a mystery chamber. There's a few different reasons why they'd be going into a mystery or into a regular chamber. So I created in all the champion levels decks, level 1, 2, 3, and 4, there's dual monster chambers. And that means you're going to have to fight not 1, but 2 champion monsters. So it definitely adds a heck of a lot of tension to the game, to say the least. And, it's very random. You don't know when your heroes are going to, encounter one of these chambers. So that's what that deals with. But I also put a note here for people that, if you're just learning Dungeon Crusade, I would highly recommend there's 2 of these cards in each of the deck. I would say take those out until you get very acclimated to the game, and then maybe, introduce one and then the second one. So it's a very challenging, thing to fight 2 champion monsters. So then the section goes into the guardians. Okay, guardian monsters. I created 8 guardians, and these are like boss-like creatures, or yeah, some of them are creatures, but monsters. For instance, we have Lord Blackhand here, and all this art you're going to be seeing is Freddy Lopez, the amazing Freddy Lopez. And I gave him some ideas for this guy here. This is Lord Blackhand, and he's the leader of the Blackhand army. So you can expect to be fighting many monsters that are part of the Blackhand army. But you know, I said this is called the Trinity of Anguish. This because it's kind of like a flail with these skulls and spikes. And then I just told him, hey, this is what I picture for Lord Blackhand: a helmet, a cape, the Trinity of Anguish, and a big evil-looking tower shield. And Freddy did the rest. And what an incredible monster to create. So, and all of these guys have origin stories, just like all the monsters in the game. I was very passionate about creating origin stories for where all these, you know, things come from in the land of Avalon. So here it just goes in to talk about the breakdown of a monster card. This is Red Widow, and let me say real quick too that the champion monsters in the game can level up to level 4. Guardian monsters can also level up to level 4. So you can expect on level 1 cards, this tells you the level right here. So this is the level 1 Red Widow version. And here's her origin story that talks about that she was a warrior at one time named Kyra Jandar. And she was a warrior with Charcy, her best friend, in the Maidens of Witherbrook Forest. And one stormy night, they tracked down this malevolent archmage named Tavok. And right before Kara landed the killing blow, Tavok stabbed Kara with a tainted blade and transformed her into the Red Widow, one of the Guardians. So there's 8 Guardians, all with backstories, very unique. All of them are completely different. So we're going to get into this. Actually, this will be going to video 8. But, you know, how they move. They move by quadrants. So we'll get into that in a bit. So we're going to go on to the next page. This ties into minions and guardians, but we're talking about guardians here. When I created these hierarchy of monsters, I wanted to give them kind of like an AI or a brain. So real quickly, there's 3 classes of heroes, okay? Class 1, Class 2, and Class 3. And like your Class 1 are your warrior types, like the Barbarian and the Knight here, Cerbrenus. Class 2 is like the Archer and the Rogue characters. And Class 3 are your spellcasters, Wizard, Cleric, things like that. Well, notice here that I created these things called target priority boxes for all the monsters. So this is kind of like, think of this as like we're looking at Lord Blackhand here. This is who he hates the most. Like he hates Class 2 heroes, then he hates Class 3 heroes, and finally the least is Class 1. But what I did was, I'm really into creating like really cool AI for stuff. Lord Blackhand is going to go after the hero he can do the most damage to. You know, one he has a possibility of killing. So right here, this demonstrates, like, even though he's closer to Cerbrenus here, Cerbrenus is only a Class 1. That's the least he cares about. So Lord Blackhand kind of knows if he goes after a Class 2, he can do more damage, and that's the way that I program these monsters. So I think here's the up here, so it just goes to show here he goes over to Enwin because Enwin was in his line of sight, and he's going to attack Enwin. So just know these monsters are not a pushover at all. Okay, real quick, I'm going to start. I'm going to stop this and go to chapter 8, part 8. So I'll see you in a second.